Hello and welcome to part 4 of my Kerbal Space Shuttle series. On this installment we'll be getting the Space Shuttle back on the runway, and previously unseen I have deployed a flag at the very end of the runway so that I have an accurate target to bring the Space Shuttle down to. With the cloud cover it can be difficult to find, especially when transitioning through the cloud cover. It's difficult to see the runway from orbit, but this just gives us a nice little visual reference for setting up periaps on re-entry, which I will do now. I want to set our periaps to about 35,000 and adjust it so it is directly over our flag. If you're playing Remote Tech with the Remote Tech 2 mod, you'll have a giant red dot for KSC. I have it disabled at the moment until it's fully figured out for version 0.24, whenever that may release. But at this stage, have to maneuver the shuttle to line up with our maneuver node. Give a quick twitch to the engine so it'll calculate our burn correctly. And time warp. And we start our re-entry burn. And once again, we get the last couple meters a second with the RCS. Get that last tenth. Periaps is approximately 35,000 meters above the Space Center. Going to line up with my retrograde marker. Wings level to the horizon. And time accelerate until we get to the other side. Well, that was a much shorter descent than I was planning on. At this stage, go ahead and change the camera to free view. Periaps is descending slowly, but In order to manage our descent correctly, we need to start beginning our turns. Because this is a heavier shuttle, I tend to start my S turns at a higher altitude. Going to give these dump valves a try. And they probably have to be on the fuel tank that you're draining. That would be logical. So just going to go into attack, fuel balancer. And dump the rest of what I have. Transfer everything out to the forward tank and lock it. Periap's still coming down. Gonna turn the shuttle the other direction. This is one area where the environmental enhancements mod makes things a little more difficult because you get your orbit indicator starts to merge with the cloud layers after a certain altitude. It can be hard to pick out exactly where your beginning and end points are. Just continue watching the periaps fall. You generally want that blue line to recede back to approximately where our space center is. Now with our turns complete, we roll level. This would be a good time to create a custom quick save, which if you do not know is Alt F5. Just in case I happen to mess this up. And I apologize if I sound extra subdued in this video. I just had a really long day at the shop. I have done a juke timing chain recall every day I've been in the shop this week. Just keep the nose level with the horizon. And this is the main drawback to the Space Shuttle and Kerbal Space Program. As I mentioned before, your re-entry sequence takes forever compared to a pod. This is either something that you're a freak like me and enjoy, or you're a much more sensible person and decide to go with pod return. Getting a nice moonrise over the atmosphere. Go back and check our orbit again. Still ending approximately over the Space Center. I will have to adjust this with pitch, but at this stage those are easy adjustments to make since I've got most of my velocity bled off high up. I don't have to worry about damaging the wings or any such shenanigans. And if I remember correctly, the last time I was playing with vanilla aerodynamics, I was able to get this shuttle pretty much to function as is. I may have added some more fuel into that main tank because it will take much more delta V to hit orbit. But I don't think it was an extremely large amount. For a bonus video, I might cut out Ferrum and do a quick vanilla flight. And second apology of the video, it's allergy season where I live. I can feel it and you can hear it. Starting to get re-entry heating. Starting to lose some velocity, so I'm going to pitch the nose up. Vertical speed starts to bottom out. I can stretch that indicator back to the Space Center. And because I have so much mass shifted forward in my fuel tanks, or the monopropellant tanks, it tends to want to sink back to a nice forward orientation. Starting to get a little hot here. Just pitch the nose up and it'll start to cool. The name of the game is conserving energy. You want to be moving fast enough that you don't stall out, but you don't want to be going so fast that you overshoot the runway. If you do overshoot and are extremely lucky, you can do a go-around and land on the runway from the opposite direction. I have done it before, but I am going to attempt to just bring this straight down on my current heading. And temperatures are on the way down, which is always good. You want your orbit marker, your flight path marker, to come up a little short of the runway, because this just calculates ballistic properties. It doesn't really take your aerodynamics into effect. Not necessarily a bug, it's just There goes the Chatterer mod. Because this thing is so large and heavy, it tends to keep its velocity up really well. I've never undershot the runway, but overshooting is a definite risk with this one. And I can just start to see the mountains west of KSC. Go ahead and create another backup save file in case of any accidents. Alright, and bring the nose up a little bit, shallow out our descent. Quick check of the map. Had to take a quick phone call, but I'm right back. And shut the RCS down. And because the main part of our re-entry is done, I'm going to shift everything to the back. Well, almost everything. I'm going to stop right there. I'm about to hit high dynamic pressure. The atmosphere is thick enough and I'm moving fast enough that tearing my wings off becomes an actual concern. There's the flag I planted. Gonna bank over a little, keep the nose up. About now is where I really need to start thinking about making my approach. Putting this beacon there is very useful for the environmental effects mod. Visibility goes to absolute 0 before you get through. Change this back to surface mode so I don't get confused. And this is actually the second time I've landed this, because after making my save back there, I accidentally disabled fraps. Starting to descend through the cloud layer. I'm going to bleed off some of this vertical velocity, and it's feeling very nose heavy, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer everything into that rear tank. That's much more responsive. The distance is misleading. Little trigonometry would help you figure out that I am on the hypotenuse of a right triangle. So my ground distance is not that long. I'm going to put my landing gear down. Start trying to flatten this out. One of these days I will get around to putting air brakes on one of these shuttles. Okay. Get my vertical speed down. Start bleeding off a lot of airspeed, which is just as well. This is gonna be a little faster than I normally do it. But so long as my VSI stays down. And that is landed. Start to brake. Still getting some flex out of the landing gear, even though I put longitudinal struts on it. That little twitch there. But that is the end of a semi-successful shuttle mission, as long as I don't fat finger the landing gear key. Nice evening landing. Wasn't quite late enough for the runway lights to come off, which, what a pity. That would have looked great. But yeah, thank you for watching.